I've got to a position now where the focus is not the money. The focus is helping other people to be successful. I had $5,000 and it turned to 900, pound within literally 24 hours.
Wow.
So what you do is you develop this emotional regulation and ability to think rationally in times of crisis. This is who makes money. Someone who sits around in a suit all day, to actually what it is now, is very, very different, because you think of people in finance, the bankers, they're stressed all the time, they're wearing suits. Whereas I've said it before, like, I've made more money in my underpants than I ever have in a suit. People have money and they want to do things with it now because of a lack of self-regulation. Life has a tendency to throw things at you to make sure if you're worthy of the next level. One of the key things as well is understanding yourself.
High school was definitely not a place where he fitted in. In fact, our guest struggled with traditional education because he always felt out of place. Fast forward, he's done a 6-week intensive course and got a job at a reputable corporate firm. But it didn't take long until he realized that the corporate life was not something that resonated with him deeply. He was then at a crossroad. He wanted to work by himself and give something back, but realized that he didn't have any skills from his prior education. In the meantime, he started investing money he'd get from his family and friends. He was basically trying to understand the market at the time, but fast forward to the cryptocurrency boom of 2018, he lost all of his life savings. Roughly 2 years after, he lost another event business he started after having worked with large corporations from the UK. Someone else would have just given up at that point. His emotional resilience, however, led him onto another venture. But I will leave you to listen to this man's story. He talks about Bitcoin, financial markets, and is kind enough to offer financial advice to everyone starting out. And we also dive into his mindset and the habits that have got him in the place he is now. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Elliott Rayne. You are listening to The Grateful Show with your hosts Pascu
and Bogdan. Join us on our mission to spread awareness around mental health and make people feel happier and overall more grateful.
Each week, we bring you an inspiring guest, stories, and a message that will help you become your best self and pursue your life mission.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of The Grateful Show. Hope you are doing fantastic, because today we have here with us Elliott. How is it going, man?
Hey, guys.
Pleasure to have you on, Elliott.
I appreciate that. Thank you for inviting me, gentlemen.
Let's just break the ice, and I'm going to ask you, what are you actually grateful for today, Elliott?
Well, number one, for being alive. I think fit and well, healthy. I think that's probably an answer you get quite a lot. But number two, I think probably one of my struggles last year was exercise. So I've been grateful today, and I had the gratitude behind me of being able to go out and have a run this morning, which I haven't been very consistent with as of last year. So I guess that's one thing you can be grateful for, taking in your surroundings.
Yeah, definitely. All of us just have different areas to improve on. I even remember for myself that for the pandemic was one of the worst periods in terms of exercising, but for other people, it was quite good because they understood that they don't do much, so they just have to to go out there and do some physical exercises. But for our audience, Elliott, if you can just briefly share your story and what you do would be awesome.
Absolutely. So my name is Elliott Rayne. I'm 21 years old, based in Leeds of the UK, and I am the owner of Planet Crypto Global. And what we do is educate people to becoming profitable within the cryptocurrency market. Whether you're a time-rich investor or a time-poor investor, any experience level, we will get you there. Bit of a background into my story. I came out of school around 16 and didn't want to go through the usual education system, which is kind of the topic of a lot of podcasts nowadays around how you can defy the education system or whatever. But casting everyone's mind back to kind of my story when it goes through the educational system, it kind of ended after I went to school, but my background in school wasn't I wasn't the best student around. I could probably, my last year attendance was, sub 60%. So I wasn't really that of a good student. You could say I didn't really feel like I fitted in. And I guess, it's probably actually a good one to talk about just today. But I guess from my point of view, from a mental perspective, within that kind of time frame, I struggled a lot because I felt out of place within that kind of, let's say, 5 years of my life within the schooling system. But that being said, I ended up kind of, let's say, getting through school in a manner that was okay. It wasn't, I kind of didn't end up anywhere where I shouldn't have been. And then from there, I went straight out of school and ironically went back to education. I did a 6-week crash course in telecommunications and ICT principles. And then I went to go work for a large scale corporate. And then I enjoyed corporate life for, a while and realized that quickly wasn't for me. So I guess this is all learning, growing up within, I did quite a lot of growing up quite fast. I'm only 21 today, but, when I was 16, 17, I kind of knew where I wanted to go. So, at that point, I was starting to practice investing. I was investing. At that point, I wasn't even old enough to invest, but I was investing every bit of money I could have from family, friends, just trying to understand the market, really. And, that brings me on to obviously why Planet Crypto was created. But continuing with the journey as a whole, I ended up going back into education, went on to work for a corporate. And, I was at a crossroads in my mind. It was like, I need to kind of work by myself and kind of offer some value to the marketplace. But I don't have any other skill other than being able to bunk off school. So what I did was I ended up getting a business partner within the events industry. And we set up a business called EJ Events that basically was an all-in-one events solution with, we had marketeers on board. We had, events kind of videographers and event planners, all that sort of stuff. And that sort of started bringing the money in, which was, the number one problem that initially we had. And we went through the hustle stage of begging people to give us their bars for a night so we could, make £40 in profit, but, realistically get that content to be able to, regurgitate on a greater level. So I guess the first kind of year of that was an exercise to prove to ourselves that we could do it. But, quickly within them kind of 2 years of, even 2.5 years of running that business, we scaled to working with some of the largest corporates in the UK. So we worked with the likes of, even BT. We worked on with Waitrose as well, some Michelin star chefs to deliver, an all-in-one event solution that cut their costs and like say, their outgoings by 40% because we had a young and dynamic team and ended up kind of with a bit of an office in Leeds that, it was in a good place. And kind of at 18, 19, that was like, oh my gosh, that is, quite a good achievement. So definitely at that point, within that kind of period, my overall mindset, because I'm a very technically driven person, I'm not what I like to call porn star. I don't like marketing at all. It's not my thing. I focus sheerly on results and I let other people do what they're good at because I'm not good at marketing. I don't enjoy it. So, what I did from there is I funneled that money into investments and took a kind of sidestep from, what was going on with the event stuff. But we ended up winning an award and things like that, which was good. But then from there, that was really when my investing mindset and journey kind of was created from a whole, because I was building portfolios in stocks, in index funds, in peer-to-peer lending, cryptocurrency, which is obviously where I am today. Bonds, all that sort of stuff. And I was just practicing building these, diverse portfolios and kind of.
How old were you when you really started getting into
17 okay. And 18. Okay. Yeah. So realistically, the 17-year-old era was, it was a trial run, let's just say. It officially started with my, in essence, let's say, side hustle at the time. Yeah. Around 18 when I was actually legally allowed to do it. So from there, around that time, this is when I started taking crypto very, very seriously, but I actually lost pretty much all of my life savings in the cryptocurrency boom of 2018, the sort of start of 2018, the end of 2017 time. I was probably one of the only people on the planet to do so at that time. So that for me, there was a massive learning curve there. And I dedicated the next 3 to 4 years of my life learning about cryptocurrency, within literally from a literal top-down analysis, top-down state from, let's say a day trading state right the way through to investing and kind of look to master it all. And so that was when my focus really turned towards blockchain, towards cryptocurrency. So that's kind of, where I got to in terms of where I was with my, cryptocurrency and investment stance. And then obviously the coronavirus came and I was in a position where, we had the events business, which was kind of taking care for itself a little bit. And that was wiped off its feet overnight. So I was in a position where I had these skills in crypto, and it only made sense to create an educational platform around crypto and start building portfolios for other wealthy investors. So around about January, February of last year, we incepted Planet Crypto, and there's two products that we offer. Number one is for the time rich investor that wants to invest in themselves as an online educational 12-month program to become profitable through trading and investing in the crypto market. And then there's the time poor investor, where we'll build a portfolio and then we'll have 12 months worth of consultation calls to make sure that the portfolio is growing over time. So that's us, and that's how I've got to where I am today. Currently managing 8 of my own diverse portfolios, consisting of all of the above that I mentioned earlier on, and also 30% of each of them portfolios is dedicated solely to crypto. And what I kind of do is I funnel my funds, because crypto makes the most money, but it's not the largest kind of, let's say, part of my pie chart for building the wealth. I funnel all the money back from crypto into the wealth builders, the index fund and all that stuff. But obviously my main focus is crypto. And, I've got to a position now where the focus is not the money. The focus is helping other people to be successful, because there is so much. You'll see people coming into the market. They think that foreign exchange, with all the gurus and stuff, and cryptocurrency are the same. Now, what I always say to people is, it's very easy for someone to know a banknote and say, right, I'm a foreign exchange guru, and become a guru overnight. But if you start talking to someone about cryptocurrency, and you start talking about hash rate, you start talking about blockchains, you start talking about all these different, miners, all the different components that make up a blockchain network. People that don't know what they're talking about, they absolutely crumble. So, we're solving a real problem, in that there's going to be a lot of people that become experts in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency overnight, because we are relatively early. But we're positioning ourselves right now at Planet Crypto as to be the number one educational platform in 3 years' time.
Awesome. Elliott, you mentioned that in 2018, basically when everyone was making money out of crypto, you happened to lose a lot of money. And obviously, thinking back now, it definitely looks like the biggest learning curve probably for yourself. But like back then, how were you approaching everything? Like seeing that you're basically losing money day by day, how are you feeling at that time? And like, what was there like a low moment, and how did you bounce off that moment?
I mean, so again, obviously with my struggles throughout school, I developed this, let's say emotional regulation to be able to manage my emotions in a way that I can switch off like that. I mean, generally I'm not an emotional person, but I can switch off like that, which is why it's good to think logistically in a market. So to answer your question about what I was feeling in that time, at that point when I lost all that money, the mindset that I had was a stock market mindset. It was a non-volatile asset market that I was, kind of in. But for cryptocurrency, it's a massively, massively volatile market. So, for me, it was a massive learning curve in terms of, I'd always been used to the things like the stock market and things like that, not really playing on my emotions as much, because I kind of got into a good position with them. But when crypto came, it was so much volatility that one day, I had $5,000 and it turned to 900, pound within literally 24 hours. Wow. So what you do is you develop this emotional regulation and ability to think rationally in times of crisis. So for me, the biggest learning curve from that was actually not looking at what things were worth, but looking at the reasons why these things happened.
Yeah.
What happens is when you start to, regurgitate that and in essence, prime it over time and make it better, you remove the emotion and it no longer becomes money. It becomes a game. And the money just comes with it. It's like perfecting any craft, right? As long as you get good at something, the money will come. It doesn't matter if you're focusing too much on the, the financial return, you're probably not going to hit the highs that you probably need to get to.
Yeah, definitely. Elliott, I'm just curious about how and why did you got first of all into trading? What was the reason? Like you were influenced by someone?
Yeah, so I mean, my let's say it's not being background, but I'm an analytical thinker, right? And it sounds crazy, but I've always watched things like Wolf of Wall Street. I've always loved them from a young age. Things like The Big Short. And realistically, my initial mindset of this is who makes money, someone who sits around in a suit all day, to actually what it is now, is very, very different. Because you think of people in finance, the bankers, they're stressed all the time, they're wearing suits. Whereas I've said it before, like I've made more money in my underpants than I ever have in a suit. That's kind of the way it's been. So, from that was the influence. It was like, well, actually, how can I replicate this, that these big hedge funds are doing, but on a smaller scale and not have to live the same, lifestyle and mindset that these guys live in, because they're under the pressure at hedge funds every single month. If you don't hit your targets and you don't hit your returns month on month, you're in the relegation zone. If you don't do it the next month, you're out. There are bankers out there where money is no longer a problem, but they still commit suicide, right? So, this is what I'm trying to change when it comes to the financial markets. And that to me was a deeper meaning than whatever money return could ever bring me within the financial market. So it wasn't necessarily, I was an analytical thinker and I do enjoy, investing and trading, simple as. But the greater meaning and my greater why was to make an impact in the industry that has otherwise probably been manipulated and, been top down from a long time by the global elite.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of this, I just want to keep it very, very briefly, but what's your take on what has currently been going on in like the investment space with like Robinhood and like all the conversations around that? Just keep it very briefly.
Yeah, I actually did a podcast a couple of days ago for my members on the platform about pump and dump. Mm-hmm. Now, I will keep it very brief. I could talk about this for hours, guys, so I do apologize. I do have a tendency to run. But pump and dump schemes are a market manipulation. They are, it's illegal. Now, what everyone thinks they're doing when they're betting against these hedge funds is the thing that they're short squeezing, but all they're doing is playing into the hands of the greater power that has the larger liquidity. So what you've got, for example, the likes of GameStop, who people are thinking they're beating the institutions by squeezing them higher, whereas all they're doing is playing into the hands of the institutions. So when they short the market and bring it down, they make more money. So while these people are so flustered in the mind thinking, I'm winning, you saw GameStop lose half of its value overnight. And that's simply because whether they've been stopped out in the stops or what, it doesn't really matter to them because they've regained that money and more by, wrecking more people in the market, right? So similar thing happens in crypto, less liquidity, less orders, and, it's a lot easier to do. So we had a pump and dump on Monday. You saw people getting in halfway through it. When the money's made before the pump and dump happens, the money is made on the way up before it happens, before the time, and then the institutions enjoy it down.
Mm-hmm. Right. Elliott, for our audience, which probably are not as, experienced with the whole topic, but they might want to get into investing, what would be like, let's say, top 3 tips for them to begin with? 3 things that they can do, implement to basically either educate themselves or like how to get started in the whole investment space.
Number 1 is find an experienced mentor who knows what they're doing, who can guide you, that will help you along the way. Number 2 is develop a community of people that are on the same path as you. And number 3, let me think, is just make sure you're consistent. Don't throw your money into things that you don't understand just yet.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You mentioned the community. I think is definitely one of the most important things when it comes to doing such things, especially because, like, obviously, if you right now were to go back to high school, let's say, and try to speak to your old friends about what you're doing with crypto, they would probably be like, oh, come on, bro, like, this is boring. Like, I don't understand anything, or you'll never make it in that space. So probably that's the reason behind it, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, what you find is, I guess what I've found as well, is from when you're trying to appeal to everyone, you're very liable to get your emotions played with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you wholeheartedly know who your target audience is, no one else matters. You are focused on who you are trying to appeal to. And what you find is these people that soon, before were not interested and, didn't care about you, they soon start to probably try and adapt to the person that you want to achieve, marketer. Mm-hmm. So, you're going to be able to tap much more of a wider capitalization if you know exactly who your target market and who they look like, where they hang out, all that kind of marketing jazz.
Yeah. Awesome. You have told us in our audience briefly what you do and what you currently do, but can you please let us know why are you doing everything you're doing and what's the biggest goal for all the businesses and plans that you have?
So, I mean, it always sounds cliche, but 5-year vision is to create a hedge fund in crypto, specifically geared around cryptocurrency. So we've got two target markets we're looking at the moment. So you got obviously your people who are wanting to learn how to do it. This is the way, right? People learning how to trade and invest. We're trading them properly. They're becoming profitable. You've got your high net worth individuals who have the money, don't have the time. So what the plan is that on them two hands, we've got our two ideal people within that will make this grow into a hedge fund. So the idea is that five years down the line, we'll have a cryptocurrency hedge fund. We've got the people who have the skills to be able to trade higher net worth individuals' money. We've got the individuals who are able to give us the money to be able to grow in a big fund. Let's say £1 billion worth of asset managers. Management people, if they want long-term gains, we'll get an investing team on it. If they want short-term gains, we'll get a trading floor team on it.
Definitely. I mean, in my opinion, it's just a matter of time because you have such a clear goal and you already are very ahead of most people in the space. And like myself, not knowing too much about crypto, I definitely know the fact that things are just getting started. And yes, what happened in 2018 might have been of luck for some people, but I guess I'm assuming that the crypto space is only just touching surface, and we will probably only be trading cryptocurrency or other currencies within probably 10 years max.
Yeah, I mean, there'll always be a room for other asset classes, and there'll always be the traditional people who will only ever, because of compound interest in index funds and stocks, etc. They're always going to probably stay within their own niche. But what we're finding is that the mindset towards crypto and towards an unregulated, decentralized market is shifting massively. And what we find is, again, on a kind of a simple basis, if you look at Bitcoin that went to $20,000 at the back end of 2017, it then retraced over a 2-year period down to around $3,000. And a lot of people lost a lot of money, right? And I was one of them at one of them points. Granted, at that point, that investment I never actually lost because it made money over time. But that being said, what we then found is the price pushed up to around $16,000 and pushed back down to $4,000. So the way that markets work, and this is what people don't understand, they follow the manipulated news, and across the cryptocurrency market, news is regurgitated to make people make rational, emotional decisions. So when the price is going up, they're telling you to buy. When the price is going down, crypto is dying, simple as, it's never going to come back. Whereas when you look at the actual, what the data is telling you, the market, as long as it goes up and comes back down, goes up and comes back down and forms a continuous uptrend, the market's growing. So I'm expecting right now, the price of Bitcoin today is around $33,000, right? I'm expecting that to crash at some point. A lot of people are going to get wrecked that are rookie investors, and that's just kind of the way it works. I hope they didn't, but people that listen to the news are going to be getting wrecked. So, the smart investor would say, well, actually, I'm in a position now where, I can put my money into assets that are undervalued, but I'm going to wait for the market leader, in this case, Bitcoin, to retrace back to levels that it's done time and time again. That is a simple thing to do. It's retraced back to 3,000. Is it going to retrace back to 6,000, 7, 8, 9, 10,000? And can I buy in there? People have money and they want to do things with it now because of a lack of self-regulation. Whereas if you strategically plan out, especially with investing, it's all about waiting for things to pan out in the way that you want them to pan out. You can get money in the market now, but as long as you leave money for potential downside, people put the whole life savings in at certain points. And the moment the market goes down, the kids are crying at home. Simple as, they're not in a good position. So, the way you master infinite returns is by being able to play the market and proceed within the market in a strategic way and rational, logical way. And that's what we're trying to change within this space. There's far too many people getting wrecked by people who simply are teaching the wrong things and don't know what they're talking about.
And I also think it's often the case with teenagers, at least, and people that want to get rich overnight. Like people, when they hear about cryptocurrency or they hear about Tesla stock going up, they always think of, yes, I'm gonna put this much amount of money, and within a couple of months, I'm gonna buy a Lamborghini or something like that. And it's definitely not the case, and you know that better than anyone else. But what piece of advice would you give to, let's say, Elliott from 3 to 4 years ago in regards to your finances? Like, let's say right before you started to be more aware of your finances and how to better delegate costs and how to better save your money and all around finances, what would be that one piece of advice you would give yourself?
So before I learned that financial literacy, probably around 17, 18, I lived my life, and this is what a lot of people young do. I lived my life to appease a certain demographic of people that I didn't know, they didn't care about, they didn't care about me. So, I was buying the designer clothes. I was buying these things to appeal to these people that just, I don't even know who they are now. I probably can't remember them. So the piece of advice would have been, stack up the money, work hard. You get a 9 to 5. That teaches you, a lot of things. Despite the wage might not be very well, it teaches you how to have a routine. And as the moment you start to be able to funnel that money into other investments. So, but at that point, I was living basically, my paycheck was coming in and I was buying designer clothes to show someone else that I got the designer clothes and I looked rich. Whereas, I bought about 14 of the same T-shirt the other day, in the same color. And that just simply so I remove the decision in the morning, of wanting to choose a T-shirt. It just doesn't matter to me. But that's what I think a lot of people do, that they get caught up in this kind of downward spiral of appeasing nobody.
Definitely.
Yeah. Elliot, talking about currencies and stocks and all of that, I just wanted to ask you this question. Would you consider being rich as something selfish or not?
No. I personally, and it might be something that probably not a lot of people sometimes like, but I have more of a capitalist mindset. You can probably tell by speaking to me. No shit, at the end of the day, you work for what you get. If you're on your ass, if you're sat at home smoking roll up fags, you're gonna get what you're given.
Yeah.
If you consistently work towards your goal every single day, no matter whether you fail 100 times, you will get there. And I wholeheartedly believe you deserve that. And someone else who does not deserve the same, human rights, fair dues, but the same amount of success and the same amount of income for that. That is just simple as.
I think there was a quote, I don't remember it exactly, but it went something like, if you are in a bad position right now and you're not really stressing and you're not trying to hustle, that's completely fine, as long as you don't have expectations in being in a whole different place and in a whole different type of lifestyle a few years down the road. So
exactly. It's only you can change and pave your own destiny. That is what I sincerely believe.
Yeah, 100%. And it's very funny how everybody just wants to have like the millionaire's lifestyle, but they don't actually know what it takes, like behind the scenes, to have that life. I mean, the hustle and like you only see on Instagram and on the internet that they're just posting themselves with the cars and in very expensive vacations and holidays and all that. But behind those beautiful moments, most probably there are hundreds of thousands of hours of work. And
exactly. And you know what? I mean personally, there was a point probably this time last year where I wasn't looking after my health at all. I was up 21 hours a day at it every day, no phone, wasn't even responding to any messages from anybody. I was at it, and that's kind of quickly transitioned to thinking long term and obviously looking after myself a little bit more. But what you find is, just on back of your point there, this lifestyle that's presented on Instagram, right? I know some, very, very successful in terms of metrics, not in terms of what their income is, Instagram influencers, but they live paycheck to paycheck. They live credit card to bill to credit card to bill. They will literally put their whole entire income for the last month to make their credit card zero at the start of the month. Now, I have not got an issue with that. If you want to live your life like that, that's absolutely fine. And I have no room to comment on that. But for people that want more, is that financial literacy? No, it's probably not. Because if you want to build wealth and buy more time, you need to have that money as a liquid amount of money to be able to make it grow. So, these people that are going from, let's say, I don't know, 10,000 a month credit card bill to zero, they're not building wealth. They're probably going to be in that position for a while because they're not teaching themselves the financial, let's say, money pot amount of how to asset allocate within your own personal finances. So, in no way am I saying it's the wrong or right way to live, but if you have a greater goal to become wealthy, you probably, at that point when you do become wealthy, you probably won't want to even show that you're doing all these amazing things. You've got bottles in clubs, you've got bottles in clubs, you're wearing, I know, Fendi or whatever. It just doesn't matter, like, because you become at one with what is inside you become at one with your own body, and know everyone else, the people that are on the same vision as you, and, if you're helping to be helped, they're helping to be helped. There's no crabs in a bucket trying to pull you down. Everyone wants you to succeed. And that is completely, for me, like, that's positive energy, and that yields the best results.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I'm just curious, how would you describe a perfect day in your life?
So morning, I always exercise. I can't work as productively without exercise. So,
Same.
you know, again, you see people taking photos online of getting up at 5 a.m. and that's probably the only time in the month to do that. So I've been through the 5 a.m. kind of thing. But, you know, for me, what works for me might work completely differently for someone else. They might like to work through the night and get up at 10 a.m. I'm not in a position to comment, but I get up at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. every morning. I'll have a meditate for 10 minutes before I go on a run. If I'm tired, I go out basically on a run to shock my body and then meditate 10 minutes after that. Again, meditation, people say you have to do hours of it. I get bored after 10 minutes. So, you know, that's what works for me, simple as. Come back, I have a healthy, you know, fulfilling breakfast. And then generally I sometimes do a little bit of reading, but sometimes my time's a little bit shook. So I'll go straight to this kind of desk. You know, planning out fundamentals in the morning, what's going on in the news, what's going on in the market, look at some technical stuff, what's going on with the price. And then realistically, you know, I'll kind of, you know, if I'm doing the trading during the day, then, you know, I'll kind of dedicate my mornings to that. You know, and then kind of cut off point generally is midday. And then I'll move into probably some client work. You know, portfolio building. I have all my calls. I don't let anyone book my calendar in the morning at all because that's when my, you know, optimal flow state is. And then I have my kind of client calls, and then I have on the evenings, I've got my student calls. So we've got like his weekly coaching calls and things like that, you know, for the people who are learning. But yeah, I mean, realistically for me at the moment, because there's a lot going on, I've had to kind of be a bit more of a chameleon and adapt. I don't trade as much. I'm more of a long-term positional holder and investor because my time is, you know, finite at the moment because of the business, etc. So yeah, and then at the evening, you know, I usually diet 5 days a week, and then I'll usually have one cheat meal. So, you know, I'll make my tea later on in the evening, and then chill out, probably bed for about 11 p.m. So that's a typical day. You know, sort of what I make sure I do. I'm not one of these kind of gradual workers on a weekend. I like to fulfill life on a weekend and kind of go out and see the world and relax and whatnot. So, you know, I make sure that I do within them 5 days, I do everything I possibly can do to be productive. And on the weekend, generally, I don't really do much work. I'll do a bit of planning, but that's kind of my routine.
I'm very curious to know now, how did Elliott from last year, when you were working 18 hours a day, got to Elliott from now? What were the realizations and what were the changes that you had to implement? Because I've been there myself, working 8 days a week, if possible, and I was miserable. And I would love to know how it changed for yourself.
I think it was a internal and external factors. Like I could tell from an external point of view, you know, I was very, very sharp with people. I didn't, you know, I wasn't flexible at all. You know, things were just annoying me because I knew that, you know, I was in the trenches basically. From an internal point of view, I kind of knew all along that it wasn't sustainable, right? You know, I wasn't really getting my exercise in. And, you know, at this point, it was pretty much locked down anyway. So, you know, you kind of can't even go out. So I was thinking something's got to change here. I think I can either go to the gym for, let's say, three months. And I always use this kind of analogy. I could go to the gym for 3 months twice a day and then injure myself after 3 months and never go to the gym for the rest of the year. Or I can go 3 times a week for 12 months and get better gains and, you know, work for the long term. So that's kind of the analogy that I use for obviously training and then within, you know, my own business life as well. It was more like, you know, I don't really give a complete shite what everyone else is doing. This is what works for me. You know, and 7:30, 7 a.m. is kind of the sweet spot, really. So that was the realization. I knew in myself deep down that it wasn't how I wanted to personally live my life moving forward.
Yeah, awesome. And talking about routines and about habits, and I'm just curious, what would you say? What would you consider top 3 most important things that people can do in order to improve their lives overall and their happiness?
Okay, so number 1 is getting enough sleep. Massively important. Sleep, oh my Jesus.
Very underrated.
Massively important. People don't show that they show that you can sleep, you know, 1 hour a day and it's okay. It's not. No one wants to build an empire, not to be around to live it. That's what I always say. So, you know, sleep, number 1. And number 2 is eating correctly, massively. And then number 3 is training. Get all them three right, and you know it's clinically proven that you're gonna be able to feel a little bit better in yourself. You know, mental wise, physical wise. It kind of, you know, a mind, body, soul sort of thing. You know, and then you put yourself up right.
I want to touch upon Definitely. I want to touch upon a point with a lot of people thinking that they are saving time if they are not doing those things. If they are sleeping less, they're going to get more time in their day to work. If they're not going to the gym, there's even more time to work. And if they're not cooking or not having a proper diet, they can just order food or eat whatever, and then they're going to have more time to work. But I guess it was for yourself the case as well when you realized that it's more important to be able to have a good 6 hours of work rather than an average 10, 12 hours of work.
Yeah.
So basically sleeping more and training and having a diet might make you waste time, but in hindsight, it's actually making you win time and basically be more productive and get more things done in less time.
Exactly. High performance. Do the best you can with the time you've got. Simple as, as long as you're productive in the amount of time you've got, there's no need to do any more. You're probably just convincing yourself that you've been productive when you sat, on Google reading about something you probably don't need to be reading about or watching, So
or when you've done one of those tasks that is not moving you any forward, but you've just done it. Maybe you just cleaned your inbox in your email, and it took you 3 hours, and that's considered work for some people.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wanted to ask you, Elliott, because you definitely are a very driven person and basically know where you're heading from such a young age. And I want to know, and for our audience listening, what are the things or the thing that you want to be remembered for or as?
Changing the way in which people look at the financial system and financial education. Number one, I mentioned about it earlier on, about how the current system that we see about bankers, etc., is just not sustainable. There's so much competition in finance, but equally there's no competition. And that is the reason why that is because the people that are at the top and control it will always be at the top. Always. No matter what happens, you can go get your, university degree. You can do as many JP Morgan and, Deutsche Bank internships as you want. But the key thing is that people in power are never, ever going to let you be in a position of authority. So, for me, people that work hard get rewarded. Simple as. I would never see anyone on the team that works at Planet Crypto. If someone's working harder, they get rewarded more. Simple as. And that's the mentality I've brought the people that work for me around, up in. There's none of this kind of top down, you're below me. We're all a team. We're all sharing the dark times and sharing the successes together. And that for me is something that is adapted in a lot of industries, but not finance. Finance is a very greed-driven industry. Greed, because you can never. So some people, you can never have enough money, but that doesn't mean they can never have enough happiness, because happiness generally, makes their money. Their money generally makes them happy in that case.
Yeah, fair enough. Completely agree. Just to change a little bit the subject, what would be one thing about yourself that you would like to change in the current moment?
Currently, so I mean, definitely from a marketing standpoint, I just completely disrespect it. I don't like the porn star things. So I need to learn. I need to personally. It's one of my massive development opportunities, and let's say places to move this year, is learn more about the emotions behind selling and the emotions behind marketing. I get emotions, and I can understand people's where they are within the pie chart on their emotion graph or whatever, what color they are. But sometimes with the way I translate things to people doesn't appeal to who they are as an emotional person, and they can get confused. So I know that this interview will be received in many different ways by many different people. I'm not really bothered about that because again, it's not. I'm looking for one type of person, but ultimately, that's one of my kind of key points I need to work on is understanding emotions more.
It's very important that you have the necessary awareness to actually identify what are the things that you have to work on, because there are a lot of people out there, myself included, a year or 2 years ago, when I would be like, yes, I kind of arrived. I just have to keep working harder and that's it. But it's definitely not the case. And it's, again, I want to acknowledge you for being so young and having the mindset that you have right now. And I hope that people listening can take a few things from yourself in terms of the way you are approaching things such as losing your life savings, things such as having to basically face a wipeout of your business last year. So there's definitely been quite a few things that have tested you so far, and you've probably built some resilience after that.
And do you know what? That was going to be one of the things I was going to mention actually within the sort of this part of the podcast. I think life has a tendency to throw things at you to make sure if you're worthy of the next level, right? So for me, every time I see things as a test, I'm not a victim. I'm ready to go at it and have get myself to that next level. People have this victim mentality that everything that happens to them is the world sat on top of them. Yeah. But if you spin it on its head and you become in control of the world that is around you, you are able to tap into infinite returns and infinite kind of happiness. I think one of my key things I did touch on at the start was I went through a very, very mentally, draining time when I was in the schooling system, through high school in the UK. Mm-hmm. I didn't fit in. I was at home. I was getting these external factors from family telling me that, I had to go in this route through the system. And all I kept saying was, look, I will make sure that I'm successful and prove this whole system wrong. While I don't want to live in the past and kind of prove them wrong, I'm sort of past that now. But equally, all I kind of one of the messages I want to say to people is that if you do feel in a position like that where you don't fit in, it's you going to create the next destiny for yourself. Mm-hmm. So grab it. If you don't fit in somewhere, find somewhere you do fit in. If you are in the schooling system listening to this, you can't necessarily take yourself out of school. But that being said, there will be groups out there that you can express the way you feel and connect on an emotional level with. And I think that's one of the things that I definitely didn't have when I was going through school. And maybe that's because I was of a mindset where I didn't go and look for it, and I'll always accept that. But, that was one of because taking the kind of emotional dumps within my schooling kind of journey, it did build up that resilience and kind of the, not really being bothered about emotion whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's often the case that when you find yourself, whenever someone finds themselves in a position where it just feels like they're not part of the crowd, I think that's a very good moment, because it's a moment of realization. You basically start being more aware of the fact that the things that serve other people don't serve you. And as much as it's very harsh, I've been through it myself in university, I still ask myself, how have I not dropped out? But basically, when you are in those moments, you do realize that you are different, and you do realize that you have to think differently and act differently, because ultimately you want to have a different outcome or a different lifestyle than other people want.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And it's very sad because people, most often when they find themselves in this situation, they just get depressed or they just get anxiety, whilst they just have to realize and be aware of that and just, change your niche, try something else.
Exactly. I think one of the key things as well is understanding yourself. What are your thresholds? What are your risk appetite? What is your personality? What are the things that put you on edge? What are the things that you enjoy? And the moment you start playing to the things that you enjoy and finding other people that are available to help you with things that you don't enjoy and that put you on edge, is the moment you start to love exactly everything that you do. I don't know marketing. I absolutely hate it. I hate porn star stuff. But I know a lot of people, and I've got a lot of friends that are very, very, very good at marketing and have marketing agencies. Mm-hmm. So I put my trust in them. They do the thing, and we all reap the rewards from it. So, I think one of the key things as well is you don't have to be a master at everything. I've got people on my roster that I work with that are multi-millionaires, and they built things in the building industries. And they'll come to me with 100, 200K, and they'll be like, just kind of let it disappear and let you do your thing. And that mindset for me is brilliant, because it means that they know where their lane is, and they let me and my team do what needs to be done to help them succeed within that area of their wealth. So, that's kind of the mindset of, I guess, a successful entrepreneur. Whereas this is someone who, just wants to do everything. I always look for people, I guess, who can help me. And one of the things as well is not looking to be helped, help and be helped. Don't even look to be helped back. Always have the person that you're trying to help in mind, and don't expect anything back from them. And I always say the data from my personal life is 100% of the time it comes back to you. It might come back 3, 4, 5 years, but they will help you in the future. The next time that, if I help someone with an hour in crypto, when they want to get into crypto, they're coming to me because they trust me. They know I can trust me. I haven't charged them for that hour or whatever, but in the future, they're going to trust me and want to work with me. And that's kind of one of the key things, I guess, to building a client base who respect you up.
Mm-hmm. 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 And it's definitely the case also, I want to touch on this, even if that person doesn't end up getting into crypto and working with you, they definitely gonna keep you at the back of their mind. And if ever they come across a situation where somebody asks them for a recommendation, they definitely gonna recommend you without any concern. Exactly. And it's also the case with the way you treat clients. I've seen this for myself. If you give without expectations, and if you basically under promise and over deliver, there's always going to be the case that clients refer you to other people. And yeah, that was the point, basically.
Exactly. The way I always look at it in my mind is, you've got your pillars of marketing, etc. But for me, the most successful method of marketing is word of mouth. Simple as, people talking to people. And I always look at it you could say it's even like a blockchain, everything's linked up, but it's like a mesh topology. Everyone's connected to everyone in this world somehow. And I guarantee that you two, I don't know much about you at this moment, but I guarantee that you two know someone that is interested in crypto.
Definitely. Word of mouth is more powerful than anything.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of just a whirlwind of, you see these hyper successful companies, and they haven't got there by scamming people. They've got there by building a client base and being a trusted service provider, having the consumer in mind, providing a brilliant service, and always being there to support people.
Yeah. Elliott, changing the subject, I wanted to ask you, if it was possible for you to be immortal, would you choose to be immortal? If so, why? And if not, why?
Oh, that is a brilliant question. It's not often I can sometimes get a bit choked for words in what I'm thinking of saying. The answer is probably yes. I would love to. Yeah. The answer is yes. I'd love to be able to, spread a good message for a long time.
Would you say you wouldn't get bored of doing the same things?
No, because I come to work every single day and I sit in front of my desk and I absolutely love doing what I do. Absolutely love it, because the system that I've designed is in a way that, exactly what I've just said to you. I do the things that I enjoy, and everything else is there's someone else who's doing it. So, the moment you can, manipulate situations where you do exactly what you love, it doesn't become a job. It becomes a lifestyle. And I would probably never stop working. I'll never retire, because I enjoy what I do too much.
Mm-hmm. That's all that matters, honestly. And just wanted to ask you, obviously it's very subjective from one person to another, but what would you consider is the meaning of life?
Help and be helped, or help before being helped. Yeah. Really selflessness selflessness is the key. It is, the moment you start putting I in team is the moment your team start to, not respect you as much. If you build a lifestyle and build an era and what's it called, like a legacy as someone who always helped other people, you're going to be remembered for the right things, and you're going to always be respected. So that's kind of the meaning of life for me. Yeah,
completely agree with you. And that being said, we got to be mindful of your time and our audience time. And we're just going to ask you the last question. Just take your time if you need it to answer it. So imagine that you are on your deathbed. So you're just about to die. But then right next to you, the best version of yourself appears. You see and comprehend what you could have become. So what would you think about yourself in that situation? What would you feel?
That is a brilliant question. I think in terms of looking back from, what I've achieved, or is that kind of the best? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. I would be in a position where I'm hoping on my deathbed, I know that I did everything I could to maximize my time within the planet, have a good innings, I like to call it, have a good innings, help more people, help the family. And just knowing that I wasn't, obviously with my wider why about having, this kind of obsession with the way that the financial system works. If I knew that I made a change to that and that was going to impact so many more people's lives because of that for me, you can take me away, but you can bury me. I'm done. It's a mesh topology once again. because, you know, you've got an eternal impact on a lot of people's lives. And this is the thing again with you know, wealth and the M word in the UK, certainly, you know, the money word. People look at wealth as a bad thing, but generally people who are wealthy have changed a lot of people's lives, So, you know, that's probably an umbrella, but, you know, they haven't got to there by scamming people, put it that way. You know, if they have, they probably can't retain the wealth either. They'll become broke. So, you know, knowing that I've impacted a lot of people on my deathbed and, you know, looked after my family, looked after people I love the most, my friends, you know, that's enough for me.
That's very beautiful and powerful as well. I mean, look at people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, or like everyone has and is considered very wealthy. They, as you said, haven't got up there by scamming people, by cheating, by lying, or by doing bad things to other people. They basically got up there by helping, by making an impact, by revolutionizing whole industries. Is the case with both Amazon and SpaceX and Tesla. But yeah, with that said, Elliott, thank you so much for being on. Thank you so much for basically giving us so many insights into your life, into your mindset, and what it is that you do. And before wrapping things up, I just want to give you the opportunity to tell our audience once again what it is that you do, how you can potentially help them, and where they can find you.
Yep. So Elliott Rayne, the owner and founder of Planet Crypto Global, and we exist to educate people of all experience levels to becoming profitable in the emerging cryptocurrency market. So you can find us on Instagram at Planet Crypto Global. Our website is www.planetcryptoglobal.com. My personal Instagram is Elliott_Rayne. So that's ELLIOTT_RAYNE. And then Facebook, you know, Elliott Rayne. Yeah. That's awesome. Me. Where you can find me.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Anytime.
Talking to you, and yeah, just gotta acknowledge you once again for the mind-blowing CV that you have at 21. I mean, that's something that anybody could be proud of.
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much for having me as well, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening, and till next time, guys, stay grateful.
Thank you so much for sticking all the way till the end. This shows that you are serious about taking your life to the next level and doing that through a perspective of gratitude. If you enjoyed this interview, it would help us massively if you could give us a 5-star rating review on iTunes, or else share this on your stories and tag us. This way, with your help, our message will be seen by more people, and together we will make this world a better place.